how's it going? It is I, your boy, again. And today we are still talking to Christiaan Jansen, and we are talking anything and everything around money. Yeah, he's the money guy. He goes all to the banks. He knows all the banks. He knows how to get the money for your deals. He's been doing this for me personally at M5 Property Addicts, getting some money from the banks for the last plus 5 years or so. And today we decided to come in and have a conversation, particularly around what are the things that you need to look out for before you accept the finance, right? Remember, buying a property is an event. It happens once and then you're done with it. However, the finance component of it, you're going to live with it for whatever term it's going to be. 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, some banks will give you, 20 years, some banks will give you. That is a very long time. So having said that, it is very important that we start highlighting what are some of the things that is very important upfront for you to know before you sign. So we're not saying that don't sign for it. We're not saying that you should accept them. So we're gonna be Switzerland on this one, isn't it? We'll stay in the middle. You decide. But before we go into the conversation, Christiaan, welcome, and how's been your week?
Thanks so much, TJ. It's been a wonderful week. You kept me nice and busy, so thank you for that. And on your side?
Awesome stuff. Christiaan, I don't know how many applications you've dealt with. We can just take maybe in 1 year, but you've been in the bond origination for a very long time. And the conversation we want to tackle today is specifically around those little things that we don't talk about in open conversations, but that can actually bite us on an investment deal, either today or in the long term. So let's just walk through that process, Christiaan. I've come in as a company, I've given you all my paperwork, and now off you've gone, and now you've got the finance. And you sent me an email, say, TJ, we just got funding, right? And I get excited. Now, before my excitement goes all over the show, what are those things that I need to look out for before I put pen and paper together?
Yeah, so firstly, if your originator has done his job, you'll have more than one bond offer to consider. And one of the most important things to consider is it starts off with your interest rate. What is the lowest interest rate that you can get? And yeah, so step one, what interest rate was I offered? Over and above that, what was the loan amount that was offered? Then what was the registration amount?
So let's talk about the interest rate, because I think a lot of us, that's the only one that we know, right? We are always looking at the interest rate. So the lower it is, the happier we are all are. But then interest rate is just one component of the many other things that could drive your project to be a dead horse a little bit later or a difficult project. So interest, bank that's number one. What's the other ones?
Yeah, so over and above that, also then your loan amount that you were offered. If you purchase a property for R1 million and the bank comes back with a 900,000 Rand offer in lieu of maybe a better interest rate, is it necessarily the best deal because you're tying up cash? Or is it maybe better to go for a slightly worse interest rate at 100% bond? So it's part of your own cash flow considerations. And then directly linked to that, what is the bond registration amount? Because you are able to register a higher bond than the loan amount that you've been offered, which allows you to access money later on more easily. It's a little bit of a faster process because it doesn't have to go through the deeds office. So those are very, very important. And then...
Yeah. So sorry, Christiaan, before you jump on to the other ones, I want to speak to the point of whether you got 900 off your R1 million. So that's kind of like a 90%. And I almost want to emphasize the point that For some people, they are happy to put money in the deal, right? Because of the return that it's going to give them. So they're not worried about the cash. They have enough cash. They just want to see their money working hard for them.
Yeah.
And working hard could mean 5%, could mean 15%, could mean 50%, right? And it's horses for courses, right? But then there's other people like me who never want to put any money in any deal. So I'm always looking for 100% if I cannot get 150, right, on my deals, right? And I know that some people are going to be asking the question, TJ, how do you get 150% in your bond? Well, you need to be working with Christian. That's the problem.
You're setting a tall order there.
So here's the thing, right, Christian? Whilst we are talking about this, there is no right or wrong answer for that. It's about what you are comfortable to be getting. Because even the next bank could give you 100% on 9%, and the other bank gives you 90%, but on 4%. Right? Now, the combination of the two things that we just spoke about, it could change what one might be thinking, why did you accept that? Right? So there is no right or wrong answer. And within this conversation that we're trying to have here is to highlight what you need to be looking at. But the decision always stands with you as the investor, number one. Number two, the circumstance of the deal and the circumstance of who you are and the circumstance of your availability of cash at the particular time.
And something simple with that. If you're going to do a quick flip, and you get 100% bond at prime plus 2.5%. It sounds very expensive, but if you can get rid of that property within 6 months, you've only paid a little bit of interest. So does that kill the deal, yes or no? It always comes down to running your numbers. And part of that also, and that's one of the other things to have a look at what the different banks charge in terms of their monthly admin fee on the bond, because that differs from time to time. Some of the private bank products will see you paying 240 Rand a month for your bond, where the other bank will offer it at 69 Rand a month. So it can jeopardize your cash flows as well. So it's also something to look at. And then you'll find that every single bond, so this is something to not be alarmed by. It's commonplace. They talk about the additional amount that gets added to your bond. So I find a lot of questions of, is that money that I need to pay back, or is that money that I can access? Let's go back to that example of a R1 million bond. You'll find the additional amount will be 200,000. That does not mean that you're borrowing 1.2 million. It doesn't mean that you can access the additional 200,000. What that simply means is the banks want you to sign additional suretyship for 20% of the loan amount. So you're signing suretyship of 120% of the loan amount you apply for, or what is approved, to allow them to have a preferential claim should you default and they have to incur costs to repossess that property. So they're basically putting themselves in the front of the line when it comes to repossession. It's commonplace. We have to accept it because, quite frankly, we want their money. It's the cheapest money to work with. So it's par for the course, and it's not something to be alarmed with as long as you don't default.
100%, 100%. Now, Christian, having spoken about all of these things, right? And one decides not to actually just be more cautious around looking at all of these variables. What is the worst that could happen?
Well, absolute worst is you default on your bond and you lose everything. That's if you don't have proper structures set up. Always remember that the banks are going to require personal surety. Even if you buy in a company, in most cases, we'll find that suretyship is a standard. They'll talk about a limited suretyship, so it's limited to that loan amount. But if they now, for example, on this R1 million property, if you were to default and they repossess, they sell it on auction, and they only get 800,000, and they incurred costs and arrear interest of another 200,000, they're going to come after you for the balance of the loan plus those costs. And that will then come out of your personal estate. So it's just very important to put the necessary safeguards in place. Plan for interest rate fluctuations. I mean, currently we're at record low interest rates. They're not going to stay there. So prepare yourself. On a R1 million bond, I actually did that calculation for a client earlier today, where the current prime interest rate of 7% means a bond installment of 7,750 Rand per month. At prime of 10%, it's 9,650. So that's quite a big jump. That's bound to happen. So just plan your finances. Make sure you can afford it. The banks don't forget when you default. And we want to access their money as much as possible. So we have to focus on keeping a clean and clear relationship with them.
On the other side, Christian, what are some of the best scenarios that you've seen with some of your clients, obviously looking at all of these particular things that we spoke about, that one should look at when some of your investors are actually, they have a magnifying glass and they're looking at these things. What are some of the things that have come out that is obviously benefit the investors?
Yeah, so I've seen two strange ones. Like the banks have a cutoff age of age 65 to 75. A 71-year-old client of mine on a further loan application got a 30-year bond term. So all I said is shut up and sign, take it. He was a little bit upset. He said, I'm not planning on living that long, but okay. So that was quite an entertaining one. And another one that I also found was the bond approval referred to suretyship, but the bond document at the attorneys didn't include anything about suretyship. So they phoned me and queried about it, and I said, well, shut up and sign. It limits your liability. So it does happen here and there. But in the end, most of it's pretty stock standard. It just comes down to you making sure that the cash flows are justified into what your goals with that property are.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, I was having a conversation with Christiaan Jansen, who is basically our finance guy at M5 Property Addicts, and he goes out there to the banks and he looks for money. And we've been together for the last I've been together from when I started. I found him in the game doing this, and he continues doing it. If there is any question that you'd like to be addressed, in the comments below, for as long as it is bond origination or finance related, please ask that question, and myself and Christian will get to those questions and help you out. Or in the description of the video, you can find his details and you can hit him up directly. It is I, TJ, who will check you out in the next video.